Oh no, it's only 4 after my clock was a little off, but still.
Okay, so the question is, what time does the 1 o'clock call
Well,
begin?
Just
we
randomly
knew
until
we
Well, it's
always
not 1 o'clock
started
everywhere.
we always started at 2 minutes after, and then now lately it's become 4. And waiting for Tim, it's become 6. So I think we're going to try to get back to the 2 minutes after, starting with the next call. So, hey, everybody, looks like everybody come on in, take a seat, make yourself comfortable. And we are going to get started in about 30 seconds, whether Tim's here or not. All right, we got a hand up already. Great.
Yes, I like it.
All right. Alyssa, Connor, please go ahead and turn on the recording.
Recording's on.
and then hit the app to start the AI.
Jessica's here. All right. We're good.
Steve, we got to get you a microphone. Your sound is kind of low.
Alyssa, the recording is on
And
or
you
no?
sent me that information.
Correct, the
too,
recording's
Chris.
on.
I need to get that.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I didn't hear the announcement that the recording's on, so that's all right. Our tech people all have a little bit of editing to do. So let's pretend like we're starting now. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our dynamic agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024. And this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 497. Coming up on that 500th podcast that we've got big plans for.
You can go back to the participants.
Alyssa, you're not muted out, but that's okay.
Yep. And I don't think the recording is actually running.
No, I don't think so
see
either.
anything. I didn't
No.
hear anything.
All right. All right. Let's see. All the leads, take 2.
Not yet. To make sure the recording's running.
This is such a professional production, guys. Tim, we started and realized the recording wasn't on, so they're restarting the recording, so you didn't miss anything. Alyssa, let me know.
There you go. We're in
Welcome to all of our dynamic agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 497. I know Tim has a couple big announcements. Before we get to that, guys, I wanted to share with you a little project I've been working on. I have a list of about 150 of our subscribers that have been with us 5 to 10 years. And I started calling them. And there's a couple, I've only made it through like a dozen of them so far, but a couple, and that's why Bill's here, actually. I called him a couple weeks ago. But there's a couple commonalities that I'm noticing. It surprised me how many of them had no clue of our upgrades, our click to dial, any of the features we've added. They just kind of signed up, put their heads down, and started working. And I think many of them, the last time they were on our mastermind call, they were on a rotary phone. So it's been quite a while. I invited about 5 of them to come on the call today. If any of you are here and you want to share your vast knowledge and experience of our program, let me know. The one thing that I heard from several of them, which I loved, was obviously they're not taking advantage of everything we offer, but they said they decided when they signed up for this, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to try probate. They decided they were going to make this a niche in their business, a niche or a niche, however you pronounce it, and they have. And they never looked down. They just started, making their calls, sending their letters. They've done very well. So if any of you are on the call and you'd like to volunteer a few comments, we appreciate you. In the meantime, I'll kick it over to our CEO, Tim. Tim, what do you have for us this week?
Hey, bud. So thank you. Sorry, I was having tech challenges as well. For some reason, it was not letting me in with my famous recorder, so I had to figure that out as well. Anyway, Jim's program that he's talking about is a really an exciting thing for us because, we're always pretty transparent about what we do. We have people that have been working with us for almost a decade that we've really not had a lot of conversation with, and they've been out there, and they're voting with their wallets and purses, and they continue to pay us, and that's all exciting and good and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is that we want to find out what's going on with them, because we assume, that people are actively pursuing what they're supposed to be doing and all that sort of stuff. So that's why we've had Jim out there making these phone calls, and he's getting good information back. And we're going to be creating some programs that will help you take advantage of stuff if you haven't been doing it over a long period of time, and try to give you a really economical way to add value to the data that you've already paid for, because it's important that you realize, and we've always said, probate leads season amazingly well. And I'm just going to go back and say why we say that real quick so you understand. And then we'll be reaching out to you over the next couple of weeks with a new program to kind of help you refresh your leads that have been sitting there a while and maybe haven't done anything with them. But the reality is, think about when a death occurs in a family, and potentially the person that is a surviving spouse just stays in the house, nothing changes, everything is what it is and all of that, and nothing moves forward. House is as it was, the person passed away, and it doesn't happen. Conversely, in the same kind of circumstance, if the person that passed away is the breadwinner and the sole source of income for the family, that's one of the things that lights the fuse, and probate needs to happen quickly, and property potentially needs to get disposed of equally quickly. So you've kind of got both of those situations at play. The reality is that it's a sad fact of life that a lot of times in a death in the family, it happens when people are somewhat older, surviving spouses in the house, and things change in terms of their circumstances. Health issues come in and things like that. So the whole idea is to be at the right place at the right time. So we're going back and taking a look at what can we do to take a look at the leads that you have and find out what the status of those people are. And that's one of the things that Jim's working on now. And the more data he gets, the better off we're going to be at it. And we're actually also working with Matt at Appointments Today on a program about that, and also some screening and scrubbing that we're going to help you do to make that work well. So I am kind of excited about that, and that's a direct result of what we've had Jim out chasing and taking care of, and so we're working on that. The other thing that I'll also say is that you'll notice we have another boy in blue today. Mr. Bird is sitting here with a blue background on. Bill, wave your hand. There's Bill. Bill has now joined us as a coach. We're getting his Calendly links set up so that we have another person to talk to, particularly for those of you who are on the West Coast. Bill is out there, and so Bill's a bit more available time-wise for you to do that. And Bill's been with us a very long time. Frankly, I think Bill may have been with us certainly within the first year or so of getting started. And Bill has always been a person that we've referred people to when they wanted to talk to somebody who's doing it and doing well, and has found lots of value in the program. And we've had Bill on the last couple of weeks kind of talking about his experiences. And Bill has been a great attribute for our company, and he's provided us value graciously to talk to people anytime anybody wanted to talk to somebody. So Bill's joined us as a coach now, and I think that's a great addition to our team. So we're excited about having him, and Steve agrees. And I think that's important. Everybody's glad to see you doing that. And as soon as his Calendly is up, we'll let you know. And we also have potentially yet another coach that'll be joining us, also a more West Coast oriented person, because we realize that we need to be available and more accessible for that. So that's part of what we're doing there. I'm going to let the call continue at this point. I see we have a hand up, and we're going to talk to Kanita in a second here. But towards the end of the call, I'm going to show you a new toy that we're working on as well, that Alyssa and I have been kind of kicking around, and we're going to give you a sneak preview of that as well. So with that, I'm going to say to Kanita, and Kanita, I see on here it says Bree Smith as well. Go ahead and unmute. And is it Kanita or Bree?
Hey everybody, it's Kanita. I don't know why Bree Smith popped up there. That was some years ago.
That was the name that you operated under back then, right?
Yeah, I was under another Zoom call with somebody else, and they put up their Bree Smith for parentheses because I was with Bree Smith, but I don't know why that popped up there. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't calling you by the wrong name, and we've always been talking to you as Kanita, and I don't like it
Yes.
when people call me Jim for obvious reasons, of course.
But yes, I'm trying to get my questions together. Okay, it's three of them. My first question is because I'm dealing with divorce in the state of Virginia. So my first question, y'all probably had answered this several times. Even though a potential client says no, don't call me back or don't send no mails or anything like that, should I still continue on to reach out to them? Because I only sent out one mail to them. The second question I have, or just a suggestion in my head, is it possible that I could make like a thank you video for the ones that have accepted my phone call and things of that nature? And then my third one is I create newsletters in my area, just basically talking about what's going on in the area. 9 times out of 10, it don't have nothing to do with real estate. Should I also send that out to for the potential people that's getting divorced? I know that's a lot. I'm sorry.
Oh, those are all great questions. And Bruce, you want to take a shot at that to start with?
Yes, I will. Yes to your first question, yes to your second question, yes to your third. So
All
yes,
right.
yes,
Yeah,
and yes. You want to definitely reach out to someone in the future. They won't remember you. Life changes, their situation will change. Um, and so I would probably reach out to them. Now, I want to deal with that, but I'm going to come back to it in a second. I
Okay.
would definitely send a bomb video and an email and a warm mailer to the people that you've engaged with that might need your services in the future. So I would absolutely have a few things that I would send out, including a bomb video. Um,
Okay.
and your third question was a newsletter. So I want people to feel as though I am everywhere. They don't need to know that they are in my audience and I'm targeting them as part of my audience. They don't need to know that. So I want them to feel like they're seeing me everywhere. So if that includes a newsletter, social media ads, Google, if that includes postcards, I want them to be able to see a lot of different things from me. Now, so all of what you're asking is right, and the answer to everything is correct. However, I think that you're probably going about asking them for permission to follow up and permission to send them information in the wrong way. If
Okay.
you're getting people that say no, don't call me, don't mail me, don't email me, um, then to me it means that you're just kind of setting them up to say no. So one of the things that I might do after I've presented the service that I'm offering is I might give them the ability to resist the service that I've just offered. I help people going through the probate process with real estate needs, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what you're offering. And then I'm gonna offer them a couple of alternatives. Is it too early to think about the house? Do you have too much on your plate right now to think about the house, or is there anything I could help with? And they're gonna say it's too early. And then instead of, can I send you some information? Can I follow up? It is, I'm going to send you information on what I do, and you can call me in the future if you need assistance. Is that fair? So your question is that fair? The overwhelming majority of everyone is going to say okay. They feel like they're in control because you didn't say, can I follow up with you? They don't feel like you're going to come chasing them. I do want you following up, but I need them answering the question so that they feel like they're going to be in control of any future communication. So it needs to be, I'm going to send you information on what I offer. If you ever need anything in the future, you can call me. I promise you, you'll take, let's say 9 out of 10 people say, no, don't call me, don't follow up right now. I don't know if it's that high. It might be 50-50, but you'll go to 90% that say, okay, send me information. At least 90% if you tell them you're going to do it. And then your question becomes, is that fair or does that make sense? And
Or
they'll,
Bruce, I've heard you say, would you be offended? That's a good one too.
I actually don't use would you be offended?
Oh, no? Oh,
Yeah,
we
a lot
talked
of
about
people
that on the
do.
call.
I don't use that one.
You don't
Yeah.
like that as well?
No, no, but I mean, I think it works for a lot of people. Would you be
Okay.
offended if it doesn't work for me? People try it on me, and maybe it's because I know what they're doing, it doesn't work on me. Maybe it's
Okay.
because I know what they're doing. Maybe it works on people that don't. Um, that's not to say those of you that like to say, "Hey, would you be offended if I sent you information?" I'm not saying don't do that. Go for it. I like to say I'm going to. And then I'll say, hey, I'm going to shoot you some details on what I do. If anything ever comes up in the future, you need any assistance, you can call me. Sound good? And the way that I say it, it's like it's practically 100% that agree. Now I have permission to communicate. I don't have to ask them if I can follow up in a couple of weeks. I know I'm going to. They don't need to know that I'm going to. All right.
I think the key element there, Bruce, is that you have quickly taken control of the call, control of the conversation, yet you've allowed, by doing it the way you're doing it, there's a subtle nuance there. You've allowed them to feel like they're in control.
Mm-hmm.
You've already asserted, here's the action I'm going to take. Surely you're not going to mind if I do that, even though you're phrasing it the way you're phrasing it. Nobody's going to complain about that. They'd be silly to do that. You
Right.
know, make
Yep.
them feel like they'd be, really being a jerk to do that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a great way to do it. Kanita, does that help?
Kanita's muted. We probably have to give her permission. There we go.
Yes, that does help because lately I have asked permission and all of them said no.
Yeah, I figured.
Yes.
Yeah, don't
It's
ask.
me changing my verbiage because I get nervous on the phone. And a couple of people that I have talked to, like one guy, he said his friend of his is actually selling his place. And he said, well, you sound like a nice lady, and I hope you make it in real estate because I know it's a hard work. And he's like, but you sound very nice and highly intelligent, and that was it. But everybody else, I've been asking permission.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And you're fine asking permission, but I'll tell you, in delivering it this way, you need to practice that delivery. Practice it, stand in front of a mirror and practice it and get to the point where you sound confident. The more confident, matter of fact, and easy you make it sound, the higher your success rate using that approach.
Okay.
Right.
Thank y'all so much.
You
Thanks,
bet. And
Karen.
Kenny, I'm going to say this to you and everybody else as well, is that kind of the whole point behind any of the things that Bruce is telling you is, think about the fact that you need to say whatever you're saying and say it in a way that you would respond positively to it. And that's really the key. I mean, if somebody says to me, hey, do you mind if I call you a few more times? I'm going to say, no, please don't do that. I don't want you to call me anymore. Do you mind
Mhm.
if I send you some text? Yes, I do. I don't want you to do that. All right. So you need to kind of think about that. And it has to do with everything that you're talking about. You try to make it as innocuous as possible and then keep on doing it, keep on pounding away at it. And we're not trying to turn you into, evil people that are abusing people, but the reality is we're trying to give you the nuances of how best to do this and to continue to work really, really hard to maintain those relationships. And Bruce is really brilliant at giving you the right kind of nuanced and easy way to say that. But more importantly, the standing in front of a mirror and having those conversations and thinking about what would you say if somebody said to you what you're looking to say to them. And it's a really easy way to filter your conversations out. I only add one other thing, what Bruce said about when Jim asked about, would you be offended? It is a factor of how you present yourself. There's a great way to say that. And if you're comfortable saying, hey, you wouldn't be offended if I send you some more stuff, well, it's an easy way to put that out there. And if that comes naturally to the way you normally speak, rock on, go get it done. It's an easier way to do it by basically saying, I'm doing it. Would that be fair? Now you're asking to make a judgment about something being fair or not, as opposed to, is it okay if I continue to contact you? And that's changing the base of that conversation. And, Bruce almost, instinctively and intuitively plays this game because, he's been doing this for years and there's a lot of NLP in some of the things that he does. And I think that has a lot to do with it, but y'all need to understand where the motivation for that comes from. Okay, so I see we have another person, and Dill, unmute
Hey.
yourself there, bud.
Hey, Tim, Dill is one that I referred to that I invited on the call. He's been with us forever. So listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
I will if you'll be quiet. Golly.
Go ahead.
I believe I met Jim back in, I think that was your very first year at the NAR convention, the mid-year meetings in May that happened in
Right.
DC. That's where you
Yes,
were.
I remember that.
That's where I
Yep.
signed up. Yep. So then it's like on an autopilot, and I do my thing. Is a niche the business that we do. We send the letter out. Haven't been really, I gotta be honest, have not been taking advantage of the system as I really should have. We still get some calls. Some business come from there, but I'm not calling. For a while, you had a service that was calling for us. I took advantage of that system. It didn't pan out for me, so I kind of backed off from there. So I'm gonna be getting more involved on that. I just got the divorce leads, so that's good. I haven't touched them yet, but I'm gonna get into it. So the two things that happened to me, and I was just wondering if what is your opinion on that? Once in a while, most of our calls that come in from the letter are good. People are thankful, they need help, no problem. Once in a while, we get a call that somebody's like, how dare you send us a letter? My mom just passed away, and you guys, I mean, just on and off. And I just handle it by saying, sorry, we apologize. That was not our intention. It's just a good intent to majority of the people need help. And we're sorry if you got offended. And that's really what it is. But usually they just take their anger out and they hang up. And we don't know what to do with it. It's just, I just, at that point, just let it go. I never called them anyway to begin with. It was just a letter. So they get so mad with the letter for some reason. It's very rare, small percentage. Then one customer actually got on Google and gave me a review on Google that these are the ambulance chasers and going after people. My dad just passed away. It was an out-of-state person. So I was really angry. I left her alone. I did not answer it. I didn't want to touch it because the conversation just more expands. So I just let it be. So those two things. Second thing that since I'm going to be getting more involved in this, would it make sense to, and sorry if this is a stupid question because I haven't been attending these meetings for years. So I'm sure this has been discussed in the last 10 years somewhere. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. I have my office meetings and I tell somebody 20 times the same thing over and over again. And then they come to me and tell me, oh, somebody told me this. I'm like, oh, okay, wonderful. That's great. As long as you do it, is it a good idea to offer a referral fee to an attorney? I'm from New York City. Our business is slightly little different. Most of the title companies are owned by the attorneys in our state, and in our city actually, and every transaction does not happen without the lawyers. Every buyer and seller, both sides are fully represented by their attorneys, and usually buyer's attorneys, title company does the title.
Mhm.
And so from that point of view, they have a total grip on the business. And a lot of the states, people ask their lawyer who ready to go, and they have their relationships. So in that competing word, nobody will disclose it, but attorneys in our state can easily open up a real estate company and collect a referral fee, right? So is this something that anybody out there have done it? Probably is a more of a metro city situation. So it's just a question that hopefully somebody can help out.
Dill, it's a little bit of a specific metro situation, a little bit different. I've seen a handful of markets outside of New York City that have an environment like that where the attorneys are heavily involved in every aspect, including having a real estate license. If they have a real estate license, by all means, I would absolutely offer them a referral.
That's the only way I will do it. Otherwise, it's just risk that doesn't make any sense. But if
Yeah.
they're willing to do it, I'm looking to call the attorneys, have a lunch meeting. And I happen to know some of them too. I see the names. And I never really call them directly to say, okay, let's have lunch on this. You do 10 of these a year. I
Mhm.
know when you get them. So let's just talk. And then clients will usually just listen to the attorneys and follow the line like a duck.
Yep.
You know?
Jim.
Yeah. So in California, I've done
There you
that.
go. So you probably have the same situation.
Yeah. So in California, I have done that, and it is legal, but it needs to be disclosed. It just has to be disclosed in California.
100%. Yep. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah, but some attorneys are really receptive to it, others are not, and in my opinion, most attorneys have very different. I'm missing the word here. Characteristics, and some are interested, some are not. Some just want their clients taken care of. Some just don't ever want to hear about the real estate. They just want the closing statement when it closes. That's all they want.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. So I know that's why I want to have a lunch meeting first, and then assess the situation and then bring it up if it makes sense, depending on the attorney.
Well, and the other thing, Bill, you're in a market, Jim, I'll get to you in a second. You're in a market where a lot of the attorneys that you're talking about, that's their whole business. They're in this and they're literally wrapped around the real estate. It's all they're doing.
Yep.
They're not practicing in any other thing. They're really not, and I'm not trying to demean them, but they're not litigators. They're not, that's not their business. They're literally taking and performing, in a lot of cases, the same function as title company. And in the last probably decade and a half in New York City, it's just become that way. And a lot of them actually end up getting employed by a firm, a real estate company, that basically just handle the in-house stuff.
Mhm.
So you got to make sure that whoever you're talking to, first off, make sure that they're an independent, not that you got to know, but make sure that they're not necessarily working for XYZ agency already. And, you've got some issues to deal with there. What
Yeah.
you need to try to focus on are the ones that are sort of independent and freelancing a little bit, because then you have the opportunity to move business back and forth. If they're working for a brokerage in the city, then, they're going to be pretty absorbed in that, and they probably don't even deal with anybody outside the brokerage.
Yeah, I'm in Staten Island, New York. So we are kind of the suburbs within
Yep.
the New York City. So most of the attorneys are local, independent, small. I call them not the Ivy League lawyers. They're more transaction lawyers. And that's really the reality of it is. You hit right on the nail, so that's what it is. But they're doing, 3, 4, 5 closings a day, 1,000 to 1,500 per closing, and there you go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you find, because a lot of times, people are coming out of law school, and New York's probably the most competitive environment in the world to open a practice and make money,
Mhm.
because of the fact that it's so entrenched with existing firms. So a lot of them find their way to doing exactly what you're talking about. And the only reason I know this is I got a very close friend that, I've known for 30 plus years. His son graduated from law school, Ivy League school, and couldn't break through and get anything done. He's doing exactly what you're talking about. He's a closing attorney working for a big brokerage in the city. And, that's his whole practice. He hasn't been inside a courtroom in forever.
Okay.
Since he was clerking in law school, he hadn't walked in the front door of a courtroom. I talked to him not too long ago. So it's great that you brought this up. And those are the kind of people that, if you can find them as they're struggling to go do it, what they're doing is they're banging around trying to find a way to hook up. So if you can find them early in the game, you've made a friend for life, and now you've got an entire brokerage you can work with and move stuff back and forth with.
Many times it's the opposite. The new attorneys are calling the brokers and looking for the business from us to
You bet.
recommend them. So, and I have developed my relationships in the last 25 years with attorneys, but certainly, unfortunately, I guess, the attorneys that I have a relationship with, they don't do the majority of the estate business. So majority of the estate business that is done in New York, at least in our area, is the people who spend their lifetime doing free wills. Or very cheap wills and all that. And then when the parents pass away, all they do is bring that paper to the attorney because there's the lawyer's name on the paper.
Yep. When you're in a very segmented market.
Yep.
People find their niche, and that's what they work really hard to be known as. I'm the cheap will guy in Queens, or I'm the Staten Island king of inexpensive setting up a company, or whatever. And that's what they run ads for it all the time. I mean,
Yeah, the money is at the tail end of it.
Yep,
And that's
exactly.
really what it is. That's what they do. Yeah.
But it is a unique marketplace, and I understand what you're talking about. Where this also applies, and like Bruce said, not the only market. Bill's in one. California has its share of this as well. In the where the real estate's high priced, it's that way. And where population is really dense, it's that way. You'll find this occasionally in LA, and where Bill's talking about maybe only because of price it's driven. Most times people that are closing big dollar transactions, they'll bring an attorney into the game primarily because, they want to make sure they cross the T's and dot the I's and don't screw anything up and all that sort of stuff. But, it's a challenge. In most markets, not quite as much a struggle as this. Jimmy, you got your hand up, bud. What is it?
Hey, Bill, appreciate you being here, man. Good input, good questions. Not a direct answer to your question, but just an add-on that has worked for our subscribers in the past. When you are calling these attorneys, now you wouldn't know this because you haven't been making the calls lately, but when you look down your attorney list, or when you look down your leads list, you can sort them according to attorneys. You're going to probably notice 10-15% of them don't have an attorney. It's the equivalent of a for sale by owner. People are trying to do it on their own. So and eventually, like a for sale by owner, they will probably eventually realize that they're over their head and they need to hire an attorney. So in addition to the 20%, you could say to the attorney, hey, I'm contacting 100 people a month and I'm noticing a dozen of them don't have an attorney. Would you mind if I referred some of those people to you? And not only
carrot for them.
Exactly. Not only the attorney, but we had someone a couple of weeks ago that said that they were getting shut out by the attorney. They were getting shut out by the gatekeeper. So they started asking for the paralegal. And they said that because the paralegal knows more about what's going on than the attorney does. So they started explaining to the paralegal what they could do. And then they use that paralegal as an ambassador to go to the attorney and make the contact that way. So just a couple extra things that you could.
That's definitely a good idea, without a doubt.
Okay.
It's another angle. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
Other questions? Other exciting things to talk about? We're here to take your questions. If you understand how to do that, it's pretty easy. Just hit the raise hand button on the bottom. We'll be happy to take your questions. We want to hear good things from you, and we want to hear what's going on with you. So that's what the purpose of this call is. Whether you would like to talk about probate, you want to talk about divorce, you want to talk about anything in the world, we're here to help.
Hey, Dill, as long as you're still unmuted, I just remembered from our conversation, you shared with me initially, you're a broker. You bought these leads to share them with your agents. And then I think you told me you couldn't get your agents to work them, so you took over yourself. And that's not uncommon. We're going to give you some help with our new with appointments today, making those calls for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. But I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, or you go ahead. You had another question. Oh, you're muted, Gil. Unmute yourself.
Unmute. Okay.
Unmute. There you go.
I'm good now. Okay. So yes, I'm gonna be definitely getting more involved in making calls. But I just came across another point in my head and I just forgot now. I'll remember it. But yeah, the divorce cases. No lawyers' information. There's no chance of getting the attorney's information on the divorce.
Tim?
Sorry, I'm trying to, what do you mean?
He's saying the divorce leads he got do not have the attorney information. Is there a possibility of getting that info if it's not, part of the record?
Jody, that's a question for you, bud.
We'll punt over to our expert at that, Jody. Jody, you're muted.
No, he's not.
I'm muted.
Oh,
That is going to depend on the county. So I'm going to have to get back to you.
Please.
okay.
Yeah, the issue is generally that, if the data is available, we provide it. And it literally has to do with what is made available and not made available. So that's kind of the question. It depends on how it's posted and all of that. And Jody, if you'll note, he's in Staten Island. Let's see what we can do out for him.
Yeah, I'll find out before the call's over.
Please. Thank you.
Cool beans. Alex, what's up, man? Unmute yourself there, bud.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for taking time. I have not signed up yet to your program, and I still had a couple of questions, so I appreciate being able to spend some time here and listening to the value that you bring forth. My question is, when we purchase these leads, are there other agents that are able to have access to the same leads that we have purchased?
So if you're asking if we sell you exclusively your leads, the answer to that is that we do not. And what I mean by that is that we don't make them available as an exclusive. We will if you sign up in a county where we don't have any other subscribers. Then in some cases you could buy out the county if you take it that way. And generally, we would potentially charge you about 3 times the normal price for the leads. That way you'd have them exclusively. So we don't do that. In most cases, people aren't interested in paying the difference. And that just has to do with the cost of gathering leads and all that. So the answer to your question is they are not provided exclusively. Having said that, I'll give you kind of my standard speech. We don't oversell counties. Our job is not to try and just sell as many as we can, any place, anytime, anywhere. There are other companies that will sell, and I'll just say this in as kind of way as I can. People sell other leads that are not of the quality that we have, that don't have the augmentation, deliverability, and actionability, and wealth of data that we provide, and they'll sell those all day long. And they'll sell them to anybody that will buy them. We would rather work with a few people who are going to do well. Our average nationally is less than 2 per county. So there are some counties where we have more than that. We have some counties where we have, and I've said 2, less than 3. There are some counties where we have more than that, but in most counties we are 3 or less. So, I mean, that's kind of the general answer that I'll give you, but we don't guarantee exclusivity. The other side of that is real simple, which is that we are also very careful when we do mailing for our customers, and we mail for multiple people in accounting. Our job with our marketing implementation specialist is they make absolutely certain that your mailing does not look like anybody else in your county. So we're very careful to do that. And it's also the reason we can't oversell a county, because we have a limited number of mailing that we can do for people, and we want to make sure that everything is exclusive in terms of your communication with your client. So some people will respond to one thing, some will respond to another. And it was kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but the answer is it's not exclusive, but it depends on how well you want to market it. You can make it exclusive by doing the right job marketing it hard.
So, Tim, I'm going to chime in and add like a 5-second commercial for Probate Mastery in a second, but let me give Alex and everyone else here that has a question that's similar to Alex's, because I guarantee there's other people that are wondering the same thing. So Alex, thanks for vocalizing what a lot of people don't vocalize and ask themselves. Through Probate Mastery certification course, and we have a relationship with all the leads. If anyone wants Probate Mastery, the 5-session, 15-hour certification course, you can get it under the training drop down on alltheleads.com. Through that, I work directly with a number of agents and investors around the country, and I've got 3 specific examples of people that I privately work with. I'm involved in their businesses, not as a partner, but as a coach, as a mentor. 3 people in highly competitive markets, one of which is in my market. And I know my market is competitive because I've talked to a lot of agents and investors that are working probate in my market. And these 3 individuals who are not connected with each other are in these competitive markets. In some cases, they know that there's 10 or 20 people that are also working probate leads, not through all the leads, but maybe they go to the courthouse. Maybe, I don't know what they do to get their records. And I've heard agents and investors around the country say this market's saturated. These 3 individuals on an individual level are each doing 10 plus probate transactions per month in their market, in saturated markets where before they started in those markets, people said it's too saturated, you can't get any business, nobody answers the phone, nobody responds to mail. I heard all these different things. And now I've got people that I'm coaching that are doing 10 or more probate transactions a month in those areas. And I never, in probate, I never look at the competition ever, because I know that 95% of the competition flat out will not do the easy but hard work to grow their business in the probate niche. It's not hard to make a call, but it is hard to make a call. Most people will never make a call. Most people won't adjust their marketing strategies. Most people won't go to the attorney's offices. There might be a bunch of people learning the process. Your competition isn't going to do it. And guess what? If your competition does it and you're in a market with 50 probate transactions per month and you have 2 or 3 people competing with you, who cares if they get 5? There's still 45 left in your market. Now, that's assuming that there's 50 sales in your market, and that would probably require 100, 120 total leads. But if that's what you get in the market that you're in, there's 50 sales in that county per month. You just have to go find your portion.
I'd like to say that there is lots of competition in all 3 of my markets, and it all comes down to what your personality meshes with theirs, right? Someone could have an ultimately great presentation and you walk in and they just like who you are. So the only real competition is within yourself to do the best job for them and only think of them. Don't think of yourself. Never figure your commission out before you take the deal, right? Just make it about them and be of service to them. And everything Bruce says is 100% accurate. But there's no 2 agents the same. It's just the way it is in this business.
I appreciate that. If I may, a follow-up question on the mailing. Is the mailings that you do, are they separate? Is one question. And my second question, I don't know. I think you mentioned his name is Bruce, the gentleman with the cap that has the training. I'd love to learn more about that if I could.
Yeah, I should have changed my name on here. Tim, tackle the mailing question, and then I'll talk about
What was
mastery
your
for a second.
question, Alex, about mail?
Is it separate?
What do you mean separate?
It's not included in the leads.
You don't mail them at the same time. No, when I purchase a mailing program, and if I'm not an exclusive to the area, they're not mailed out at the same time. Is there like separation? At least that's my question.
So here's the thing. We deliver in the county, we gather the leads, and we gather them once a month. And in some cases, we're gathering them bi-monthly. It depends on the county and all that. But in most cases, in 99% of the cases, it's once a month. So when leads are available, we ship them out. When they ship out, if you're on autopilot, that's when your letters are getting ready to get prepared to go out. And so it is possible that the letters could go out simultaneously. Generally speaking, that doesn't happen. And here's the other thing that you gotta be aware of, and that is that unfortunately, while we wish it was the case, everybody doesn't avail themselves of our program. So I think my issue here, and what I would say to you is this: realize that you are not the only one who's going to be doing this. And whether it's you mailing them, they're going to get postcards, they're going to get letters, they're going to get other things. You're trying to put that letter out there because if you don't, the perception of it is that, you're not working to pursue that business. You're also potentially trying to give them something that is a leave behind that they will know that they can hold on to go forward. So, you may want to send a postcard instead of a letter. You may want to change. We recommend you do a series of them with multiple touches. So if you put it on autopilot, it's going to go when it's supposed to go when those leads come out. That's the normal process that happens. You may be the only one in the county that's doing any mailing. And all you need to do is talk to your MIS. So if Jessica's on here now and she's got her hand up, let her speak in a second. But if you would like to delay for a couple of days so you ensure that happens, it's easy to do. And we'll be happy to set that up for you. Generally speaking, if it's on autopilot, it goes out normally. But our MIS's job is to make sure that you do as much to appear unique as you can, and that's what they do. So I think you may be, and please don't take this the wrong way, don't overthink it and don't worry about it. Take what Bruce said to heart, and what you're going to hear from other people is just go for it and get it done, and get out there and follow up with a phone call and go find that business and refer back to the fact, hey, you probably got a letter from me. It was the one in the blue envelope. And like, oh, yeah, I might have seen that somewhere in there. And that's what generally happens in those conversations. Jessica, you've got your hand up. What were you going to say?
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I was just going to kind of piggyback on the comment of the mailing that I always try to suggest to my clients, and I try to be very proactive as well if there is another client in the area, which is very rare, but I always try to suggest mixing up the style of mailings as well, because if you're just sending consistently out letters or just postcards, it's going to get very familiar, which is in a way good, but at the same time, sending different types of mail can also be very effective. So something like a letter that's a little bit more formal really details out the different services and things that you can help with and explains who you are and your business. And then sending something out like a postcard very shortly after really just reinforces the branding that you have on your letters. But it's a little bit flashier. It's going to catch their attention a little bit sooner. And then, by the third mailing, maybe sending out another letter, but then including a brochure with that. So you've got 2 pieces of mail, 2 pieces of things that are going to really catch their attention with great services. Again, everything's just reinforcing how you can help those clients, but you're mixing up the type of letters that you're sending. And then, of course, I always recommend the phone calls in between as well. I have clients that are just relying on their mailings, and sometimes they're just not getting the traction back that they're expecting. So then I ask, are you making the calls? Are you following up? And they're like, well, no, I'm a little timid on the phone. And that's where it really comes in. Just approach it with some confidence. You don't have to have all of the answers on the phone. But if you're just calling with the right intent that I'm looking to just assist you through this process, I wanted to see if you received my letter. If it's easier to wait until your first mailing is sent out before making that first call, a lot of my clients like to take that approach. But if you'd like to comb through the leads first, that is another option. So by combing through the leads, you're kind of just reviewing which ones have property, which ones, if you're calling first to see, if you're going to be mailing to those. But for the most part, I would just say mail, because even if they don't have a specific property at that time, they may have other properties that they're interested in selling. They may have another property out of state or out of county. So there's always some form of opportunity by introducing yourself and talking about your services and your experience. So I always recommend, again, just kind of, concluding here that switching up the styles of mailings, but also making sure that you're following up with those calls. And also, I think Dill had a comment about, maybe a negative review or someone, making a negative comment about the call, but you may have just hit them, on a bad day. Maybe they're just still in that grieving period, but brush it off, because that the intent of what you're offering is very sincere. And the services are really there to help those representatives. And I guarantee you, if someone is like, I'm just not ready right now, in about 2 months, they're going to realize they are ready, and they're going to remember that call, and they're going to remember your mailings, and they're going to give you a call back. So that's just my approach. That's what I like to advise my clients. Also ask for testimonials. If you have a website, if you do have a Google form where they can leave testimonials and they've had a great experience with you, ask them. We live in a day and age where everyone has something to say. Social media, everyone has a comment to make. So ask for the review, ask for the positive, experience that they've had so that they can share that. It always helps.
What she said.
Yeah. Sorry, I went a little longer than expected, but
Oh, that's great. And I just want to add one other thing, and that is that, to anybody who's on here, one of the great things that we find over time is that people say exactly what Jessica just said, which is that, I'm a little bit timid making my calls. I'm worried about this, worried about that. And that's why we've got a great referral partner with Appointments Today who will make the calls for you. And we're certainly happy to help you get in touch with them and let Matt Melia and his great people work through that. And we're having more and more of our folks who are just flipping it over to them, let them make that first call, get it done, get the people in nurture mode. And then you've got a client that's already familiar with what you're doing. Now you've separated yourself from the herd very easily and gotten that job done. So that's kind of a good way to do that. Aline, what were you going to say?
So I actually, before we got on today, I just want to add a little something, relevant certainly to everything we're talking about, because it's about, forging forward. So before we got on our mastermind today, Bill and I had a quick conversation, and I was sharing with him about a book that I just finished reading. It's like 74 pages. It's called Go for No. I think I texted you this too, Bruce. So I don't know if anyone's heard of it. I'm promoting it like I'm the author, but I'm not. It's by Richard Fenton. And essentially, it's really talking about the discomfort of hearing the word no and the fear of that rejection. And it's going for the no instead of going for the yes. And it's pretty amazing how difficult it is to get no's. Which means that exponentially you have to make more calls. You have to reach out more. You have to put yourself out there more. And inevitably it reaps amazing success. So I highly recommend it. It's extremely motivating and helpful to get over that hurdle of feeling that fear of like failure is, or fail is not a 4-letter word. It's actually hurdling you and moving you forward towards the next phase or to success, essentially. So I just wanted to share that.
Aileen, real quick add on, we've talked about never split the difference.
Yes.
And that was very similar. And then after a lot of our clients read that, they started, instead of saying, hey, did I catch you at a good time? People would say no. They'd say, hey, did I catch you at a bad time? The people would still say no.
Yeah.
So, but the second one led to a conversation and the first one did. So very similar.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool beans. That's great. Is that available in Kindle or you got to get a hardback?
No, it's available in Kindle. I recommend, well, however you prefer to read it. I mean, literally 74 pages. It's a few hours, whatever, depending on somebody's timing. You could read it in one day, but it's like a manual. Oh, and it's, by the way, it's written as a parable. So it's the author, it's his story essentially, but he writes it as a parable. So it's such an easy read. And it is, if you're in sales, it is 110% relatable.
That's great. If there aren't any pictures in it, get a copy and send it to Jim. It'll keep him busy for a week or a month. It'll be great.
I'd have to tolerate this weekly. Go ahead.
Hey, Bernie, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I recently signed up to have the appointments today do my initial cold calling. I'm much happier to do warm calling, but I'm seeing when I have time, I've used Google Maps now when it's the property of the PR that's within my 2 county, the address of the PR in my 2 counties, or any of the relatives on my pre-probate. I put them all into my Google Maps as properties that I can see them with their little highlight. And if I'm in an area and I'm close to a few of them, then I'll make the loop. Because when I've knocked on doors, I've actually had more success than people picking up the phone when I call. And I feel like I'm more able to nuance what I'm saying to who's there. And I've met the surviving spouse, I've met the partner at the door, and I'm feeling that I'm able to navigate a lot easier than not seeing them. For example, Zoom is still better than not seeing them with a phone call, but I think in person for me works best. So I'm getting door knockers made right now, designed right now.
Very cool.
That's great.
That's great.
Very cool. Yeah.
That's great. That's kind of, that's the ultimate old school. Go knock on the door and, hey, how you doing?
Well, the key really for me was this Google Maps, because I couldn't spend a lot of time organizing, but just putting the addresses in there and then having a blue pin there. Then when I click on a bin, I can put a label on it, and I put the label to the month of the file and the name of the deceased or the name of the PR. And so then I can quickly go my all the leads thing and look at that person and have all the information before I go to the door.
Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks for sharing that. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
Hey, David, unmute yourself there, buddy. You got your hand up. I asked you to unmute. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Good.
I got a quick question. So I have a lead that I've been working on for, I want to say probably around 3.5, 4 months. So the situation really fast is that the owner, there were 2 owners, but he said that the other owner was his sister, but she had passed away. So I asked him, was there a will set in place? And he said no. And I was unsure to ask if it had to go through probate, but I just asked him anyway. And he said, no, it's not going through probate. He's telling me that he's trying to get the paperwork done himself. But every time I call him, he just tells me oh, just give me another week or give me another 2 weeks. And it's been 4 months now. Is there any way I can offer him help in any way to maybe speed up the process for him?
Why don't you ask him what he's running into that's causing him to be slow? And I think the other side of this is that if there's, where are you located?
In Burlington County, New Jersey.
Okay, so I would imagine that he potentially is incorrect in the fact that it's not going to have to be probated. If the person died,
Okay,
there's property in it, it is highly likely he is incorrect and thinks he can do it. I'm not sure. Oftentimes people don't understand even what the definition means, and that's kind of important because he may think that, you know, he doesn't need to get an attorney and all that. And it is possible that he can do it himself. It's still going to have to potentially go through the court if there's no will, because if the person died intestate in New Jersey, I'm pretty certain he's going to have to get it probated. So I would suggest that you call him and say, hey, you know, we've talked a bunch and all this, and I present yourself as knowledgeable about this and say, what are you running into? What's causing you, you know, what's slow about this? But give him a reason. Is he going to sell the property? Have you already said that?
Yeah, so he did make it clear. He said he definitely wants to get the property sold. Yeah.
All right. Well, then what you say is, hey, look, you know, I've got people that I could potentially turn on to this and we're not getting anywhere. What can I do to help you? What are you running into here? And the issue is he's likely to tell you he doesn't know what he's doing to begin with. He may not say it that way, but it's highly likely that he doesn't. And in fact, you probably would be doing him a service by trying to match him up with an attorney, but explain to him that the attorney won't have to get paid until it gets settled out, if that's the case. And so if it's an out-of-pocket issue, that may be also a concern as to why he didn't want to hire the attorney.
Okay, that makes sense. I just had one last quick question. Is it possible to close on a deal before the probate process is fully complete?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It has to be started
not-
and it has to be approved. They have to have letters of authority or letters testamentary before they can close, and they can't pocket the money. But they can
Hey, guys,
close.
that's state specific. I saw Bill raising his head no in California, but it's a yes in Florida. So that is state specific. Most states you can, but not all. I believe not all. Is that why you were?
You can close in all
That's
states.
the correct statement in Jersey, I think, that you're going to have to get it. He's going to have to get to probate. Got to get probated.
Okay.
You don't have to be through probate.
Right.
You have to be in probate. You don't have to be probate. The estate doesn't have to be closed.
Okay.
It's real simple. Think about it this way. He didn't own the property. His name's not on the title. So you can't sell something you don't own. And that's the bottom line. He does not have the ability to sell that property without someone giving him the legal authority to transact that. And unless he gets that from the court, that's the whole process he's got to deal with, and he doesn't have that. Hey, Steve, go ahead.
So quickly, as an executor of my father's estate.
Can't hear you, bud. Can't hear you. Guys, speak up a little bit.
An echo.
So as an executor of my father's estate in New Jersey, just to transfer title from my sister who took over the house, we required an attorney. Even the county clerk recommended that, just because there's a bunch of nuances that have to go on. So I just offer that to you.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that a lot. I was going to say, Tim, that he is actually on the title. It was him and his sister, but his sister passed.
Right of survivorship. Yep.
Yeah.
So in that case,
Still gonna have to get it dealt with, and if the guy, you're definitely not gonna be able to avoid the attorney, and he's probably not smart to do that anyway. Again, depending on where he is, I would, knowing your market, I wouldn't do that. I would want him to get it anyway, and particularly if you're going to try to go sell it, you may have problems getting title if it's not done that way.
Right. That's right. So I fully agree with that. How would I go about finding like a probate attorney? Should I just start Googling some up and researching that way?
You got family law. Go look in just Google family law or probate attorney law in your market in Burlington.
Family law. Okay. Thank you so much.
And it's a great way, by the way, to start establishing that relationship with that attorney. If you get his permission to go find him an attorney, now you're taking that attorney a client.
Right. That was my goal. That's what I asked him, can I do that? He told me no. He said, I just want to do it myself. And I said, well, if you change your mind, let me know, because not only would I like to, purchase the property from you and help you get it sold, I'll actually help you with the process also along the way and hold your hand along the way. So everything can kind of be convenient for you.
Yeah. And what you might be able to do is go to an attorney and say, look, explain the circumstance. I got a guy that's reluctant. He's fumbling around trying to get this done. If you're willing to do this and take this on and get paid at closing, I got a client for you. And it's just, be candid relationship with the attorney to kind of get that going. Hey, we're already past our time here, but Alex, did we get your questions answered? Your hand is still showing is up. Did you have another question?
No, that was from my previous questions. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate this session.
You bet,
Hey,
bud. Thank you very much.
Tim, I know we started late. I know you have something you want to go over. I just
Yeah,
wanted
I'm
to
gonna,
go.
I'm not, it'll take a little bit longer than I want to do. We'll save for next week. We're good.
Okay. I wanted to share with Dill that Jody did verify that the attorney is not available in your market. But I wanted to share with you conversation I had this week with someone who didn't have the attorneys available. He's calling the executors, and just in the course of the conversation, he's volunteering or offering to reach out to their attorney to help them coordinate things and getting the information that way. I mean, if you're calling the sellers anyway, you can say, oh, I'm just curious. There's a lot of good divorce attorneys. Which ones are handling your situation? So it's kind of an indirect way to get the data, but you know, it is still possible to find it. So that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add is that, you know, I did say that we were going to kind of talk about something new that we have kind of in store, and we're going to wait, you know, we're going to wait until next week to bring that up. But what we've done is we've created some new things around divorce that we're talking about, and I think we'll also be talking about some divorce coaching programs that we're going to be talking about as well. So we'll reserve all that and just kind of preset the table for next week that we're going to be talking some more about divorce, and it'll be a good week for divorce. This was pretty much all about probate. Next week, we'll focus on divorce. And with that, Jimmy, I would say it's time for you to do your thing, brother.
All right. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank Kanita, Dill, Alex, Jessica, Bernie, David, as well as all of our great coaches for actively participating. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.